Hey guys, my name is B-Boy Professor, and I would like to share my advice on how to improve your PvP skills for Age of Empires Online. Now, this is one of the most fast-paced, action-packed RTS games that you can find on the PC platform that's free to play. But in terms of difficulty, I think it's very challenging to pick up, especially if you're a new beginner that's just getting started or have been playing for a while and want to find ways to improve. So let's get started, shall we? Actually, there are two major criteria that is essential to any RTS game that I want to elaborate on. Or rather, two major concepts that you have to keep in mind when you play PvP. That includes performing well in your macro and your micro. Okay, so what are the differences between macro and what are the differences between micro? I know a lot of you guys ponder that during the game, but it's not something you really address until post-game feedback, where you look for areas of improvement. And I'm here to help you out. So macro refers to overall game development. What is your strategy? What resources you collect? How you manage your economy? What is your unit composition? And like I said about strategy, there are three core elements to strategy. There's being aggressive and rushing and military intensity. There's turtling, where you're more defensive and just stay in your own territory. You don't really bother to go around attacking people until you're ready at your full potential when you reach a certain population limit. And there's booming. Booming is more leaned towards your economy rather than your military. A lot of people initially start off with booming, where they have two town centers and just focus on villager production so they can gather things at a faster rate. And microing, on the other hand, is more about unit by unit maneuvering, positioning, and assigning things to do, mostly with your mouse. Macro, think of your keyboard, okay? You use hotkeys. Micro is referred to your tactics, while macro refers to your strategy, okay? Tactics include hit and run, kiting, things you do with your mouse, and boxing and assigning units to go here and there. Scouting is very micro intensive because you have to move around the map and observe what your opponent is doing so you can think of a way to counter strategy against them. So everything is interchangeable and related, one affects the other, but you just keep in mind these things throughout the video. So now that I discussed the concepts of the game, I think it's best to address now how to mentally and physically prepare yourself to perform well in any performance-related activity, especially PvP. Now, as young adults or teenagers, we often overlook our health. Now, I know it's silly and awkward to hear from me because I'm 24, but I just graduated college, so I should know what I'm talking about. So, if you're sleep deprived and lack rest, you'll be more than likely to make silly mistakes unconsciously, blank out during the game and lose track of time, or just have an unstable mentality. You might rage, be bitter and out of control, bipolar, so that's really bad for you. Get some rest, take a nap if you have to. Okay, so rest aside, a lot of people don't take care of their diet. Drink plenty of fluids. It's good for your bloodstream. It cleans up any byproducts and waste in your blood. And eat sugary foods if you have to think well. Your brain metabolizes sugar very often when you think, so if you lack sugar in your blood, then you will produce ketones, which causes acidity in your bloodstream, causing oxidative stress throughout your body tissues and organs, and that causes a chain reaction that is not recommended by me. Okay, so more importantly, let's talk about the setup of your game. Controls, peripherals. In other words, you want to move your keyboard near the end of your desk or table surface so your arms are contracted rather than elongated and extended, because when it's contracted and at an angle like me, my arms are able to have more control. So just keep that in mind. You want to be also sitting up straight So with good posture, you can breathe easier and have more focus to think more clearly. Another thing is you're gonna have to keep in mind to move your wrists a lot. So make sure you stretch your wrists and warm up before you play the game, because when you drag selection boxes around your units, you're gonna have to rotate your wrists like this. And when you do your hotkeys from numbers to letters, you're gonna have to move your wrists a lot. So make sure you stretch before the game. With your fingers, you want to keep them curved rather than straight, so you can have just more responsiveness rather than keeping them straight and being less accurate. I know sometimes you have to reach for far off keys, but try to keep them bent. So even on your mouse, you want to keep it at an angle or make them curve so you could press it down faster, alright? I hope that helps you out, and let's move on to the game now. And I'm going to demonstrate how to play with my Celts. I'm very fond of that civ. I first started with them, so I want to master them. But anyways, the first thing you should do whenever you start off a PC game is understand the controls, modify your settings, and make sure it's as efficient as possible. So if I check mark my allow camera rotation, I'm able to hold shift on my keyboard, and then I'm able to rotate it with scrolling with my mouse, and then I can just be able to look at things from a different angle, and that's very useful when you put down your storehouses near tree lines, and make sure you minimize walking distance. Another thing I want to talk about that is major in RTS games are hotkeys. Make sure you memorize your hotkeys and customize them to your own liking or preference, so you're able to react faster to gameplay. Something I want to add is finding unit hotkeys. Have these memorized ASAP, and if you don't, then shame on you. I think something that's useful for me is putting my F numbered hotkeys to selecting all military, F1 for all military, F2 for all infantry, F3 for all ranged, and F4 for all cavalry, because there are some cases where if you're in an emergency and your opponent's entire military is in front of your base and it's in the proximity of the town center, and you want all your military in one position ASAP, you want to press F1. That's my emergency key. And with this, I'm able to select all my military, and then with a right click, I could position them on my mini map to be in my base. But anyways, it's good with kiting when you use F3 for all range, because you can just select them, highlight them, let them shoot, and then rewind by moving them back, shoot, hit and run, and microing. That's really efficient, in my opinion. But anyways, I will talk more about selection groups, so allow me to set up a skirmish hall game. And I'm gonna make this weak so I can talk while I play. And I know this isn't technically PvP, it's PvE because I'm playing against the AI, but I really want to talk and play at the same time. And I'm not really good at multitasking yet, so just bear with me. I want an armor because they're more defensive. Okay, so now that I got the game set up, let's talk about the first thing I do. So before I start off the game, I want to warm myself up by moving my mouse around. But anyways, I first move my villagers to a resource that's nearby, such as berries, and I want them to gather resources. I also want to rally point my town center to a resource or a location, and always keep track of where my rally points are by every so often just moving it or double checking like where it should be designated at, because sometimes we lose track of things and it's a good habit to keep track of. Now, when I produce units, I never used the mouse to press on villagers. Alright, hold on. I never press on the villager unit queue with my mouse. That is bad. I want to use A, S, D, and F to produce units. So when I press A, I produce villagers when my town center is highlighted. I also want to designate my town center to a control group. So I'm going to make it control 5. And from that point on, whenever I press 5 and I'm looking away from the map, alright, I'm just going to click right here on something else like a gold mine. Whenever I press 5, I'm able to jump to my town center and queue up units without looking. You always want to queue up villagers at a constant pace to have a good economy. You want as many as up to 90 to 100 or sometimes 80 villagers. The more the better, because that's good for your macro. I also want to assign a control group number to my scout or any military unit. So I'm going to put it to number 3. Okay, so I can switch back from my town center or my scout. If I double tap 3, which is my scout, then I can jump to it. If I double tap on number 5, I move to my town center. So you can see a lot of players do this. 5 AA, 3 AA, 4. Okay, so I'm going to build a military unit. Every time I build or produce a military facility, like barracks for instance, I want to click on it and then assign it a group number. And for barracks, I press 4. For archery range, I also do 4. You can tab between archery ranges and barracks and stables by pressing tabs. So I assign all my military units number 4, and I just switch between them so I can either go slinger heavy or well-balanced composition. So in an actual PvP game, it's going to look like 5 AA, 4 AA, or S, 3 scout, so I can move around, 2 military to raid or to defend, kite, stuff like that. And that's essentially what hotkeys should look like during the game, okay? So whenever I build something or I assign it. Another tip that I want to share with you is how to make a proper drag box selection. Now, a lot of players, they can go from top to bottom or bottom to top, left to right, and I want to emphasize going from top to bottom is the best way. It has the most accuracy. I can control this better than if I go from bottom to top. See, it's never the same if I go from bottom to top. I see a lot of people miss micro highlighting their villagers if it's bottom to top rather than top to bottom. Anyways, I'm getting attacked right now. So that ultimately wraps up my video. I know I have a lot of advice up my sleeve, but I'm just going to type it to save myself some time because I don't have the energy to talk anymore and I have things to do. But thank you for watching. I hope you guys learned something and become a better player. I love Age of Empires from the bottom of my heart, so this is something I want to do for the community, especially to those who are struggling with PvP. It's a high learning curve, I know. I've been through that. It's tragic and very painful in the beginning, but just practice every day, be persistent, and ultimately you'll become better after a couple months. So keep it up, and see you guys later.